Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session to create closure on a previous relationship. And certain relationships can be very intense, and the nature of relationships is that because it meets so many emotional needs, it tends to have very intense emotions. And neurologically, you probably remember that your most vivid memories are probably your most emotional moments. There is a syndrome called flashbulb memory syndrome, where when big major events happen in the world, we kind of remember where we were at that point in time. So things like 9/11, or if a very famous person dies, we kind of remember where we were on that particular day, because there's an element of relevancy and emotional intensity that makes it unique, and that can lead to very profound thoughts. This session was created for a client that had a short relationship, but a very intense relationship. And because of that, they kept on thinking back, wondering what that person was doing, where are they now, and almost playing out a fantasy in many ways. And that can happen. If you think of a holiday romance that might last a week or two, quite often you only see the most appealing elements of that particular person. And that snapshot can be projected out in time to imagine, well, that's what it would be all the time, rather than a small sample size that's extrapolated out to distort what reality would be. This session was created for a client that was still having these kind of intrusive thoughts, and what they needed was closure. And there was an element of them associating into the good feelings as if they were back in them, but realizing that actually that relationship wouldn't have had a future anyway, objectively, but emotionally they were drawn to it. So what you're going to hear in this particular session is an element of playing with time. Some people would call it timeline therapy. Some people would call it regression. Some people would call it other things, but effectively it's giving a new perception and meaning to a past event so that they could see it objectively. And with that level of objectivity, they could be grateful for the experience they have without feeling that they've missed out on anything. So it was created for an individual with very specific circumstances, so therefore some of the references won't really make sense. But if you did have an intense relationship that you're still thinking about, not from a place of gratitude and appreciation that you're glad that happened in your life, but more that you've missed out on something, or they're the one that got away, then this session may help, but equally it might not be perfect for you because it was created for a particular individual. So if you are interested in working with me one-on-one to work with your specific thoughts, emotions about maybe a relationship from the past, there will be a link in the show notes where you can schedule a completely free 30-minute consultation call to explore what it would be like to work with me. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, just start to release feelings of any stress or tension, allowing it to leave your body in your outward breath. Scan the tiny muscles in your forehead, muscles around your eyelids and eyes. Become aware of any tension in your jaw. And as you breathe in that resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation, notice how good it feels to just release that tension, allowing it to leave your body. That's it, deeply breathing out, activating your diaphragm as you start to drift off, deeper and deeper relaxed. The more relaxed you go, the more your mind awakens. I want you to take that part of your mind that we can call your imagination. Sometimes your imagination can be harnessed to create ideas, to recall memories. And I want you to imagine what it would be like to travel through space and time. I want you to imagine you're going to travel back through time, observing memories of the past through a new lens, a new frame of reference, something that felt intense, something that felt like it could last forever. I want you to go back in time and look through the very lens that sometimes scarcity creates value. Gold and diamonds are valuable because they are rare. And sometimes in life, brief moments are more valuable than long-term moments because the very nature of their scarcity. I want you to imagine going back in time, thinking about moving to a new town, a new job. But imagine you are a spectator of the past. You can see that younger version of you, maybe just a few years ago. See the face of someone with mixed emotions. Maybe excitement of a new job, daunted by living in a new town. And I want you to observe perhaps a moment of loneliness or solitude. And just imagine you're there observing you perhaps download an app or use an app to make a new connection. And if you can see that younger version of yourself that had a need for human connection, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to imagine freezing time and imagine that you of the present is there in the same room, having a conversation with that version of you, perhaps a few years ago, and presenting that younger version of you with a dilemma. You can let them know that what you're about to do could lead to intense moments, but they will be temporary, intense and fleeting. Or you can delete an app and miss out on those intense moments, but you're managing your expectations. When you give that younger version of you a dilemma, you get a sense that that younger version of you intuitively knew that what they were doing was temporary, And if you get that sense, let me know by nodding your head. Perfect. Breathe in, breathe out, go deeper, relaxed. And I want you to imagine you're about to tell this younger version of you all the details of an upcoming, short but intense relationship. Let them know roughly how many weeks or months it will last, how many different interactions that you from the future are going back in time to tell the previous version of you certain key bits of information so that they can value what happens but have closure built in from the very beginning. When you've told them everything that happens, ask them the question, now knowing everything that you now know, do you still want to go down this path? And if they do, let me know by nodding your head. Breathe in and breathe out, and then imagine taking a first-person perspective, but with all the knowledge you now have. And I want you to imagine doing the same things, but rather than treating it as something that could last forever, go into it eyes wide open, knowing this was only ever going to be a short-term thing. I want you to go through each interaction with an overall sense that the closure was built in to the decision. You knew right from the beginning. So treat every conversation, every interaction as something which is a free roll. All of these experiences are there because you made the decision knowing this was only going to be a short-term thing. From a first-person perspective, feel that you are managing your own expectations, but notice that it doesn't take anything away from the quality of those experiences. You can enjoy the moments, and you can enjoy the moments more knowing that there is scarcity, there is an expiry date on this particular chapter in your life. I want you to think back that there were childhood friends that you valued, work colleagues that you had good moments with. Things don't need to last forever for them to be valuable. Sometimes it's the fact that you don't know when things are coming to an end, but that doesn't take away their value. Think back to your childhood days. There was probably one day where you and your friends all hung out together, and you didn't know it was the very last day when it happened. It was only later when you looked back, but that doesn't mean you didn't value that time. So as you breathe in and breathe out, get a sense that you don't need to know the end in order to value the story that you're on. Breathe in and breathe out and continue this, whatever you would call it, a fling, a romance, a temporary meeting of minds. I want you to get a sense that the clues were there all along. Boundaries weren't just boundaries, there were clues. Just like a good detective story, the clues as to who the perpetrator is are subtle hints throughout the entire story, but it's only later at the end you realize the clues were there all along. To start to become more aware of those clues, see the clues for what they truly are. Attempts to manage your expectations so that all parties are on the same page. Imagine going back to a moment where a conversation takes place, clearly stating there is no long-term future, and feel a sense of relief, given that you wouldn't want to cause any issues with other things that you value. You get to enjoy the experiences, but without any kind of threat to something you value even more. I want you to get a sense of relief in that moment, not loss. And consider anything that happens from this point onwards as a bonus. More time, more experiences. That you accept the temporary nature of what's going on from the very beginning all the way to the end. Breathing in and breathing out and getting a wonderful feeling that you've managed your own expectations. You can enjoy the moments without being attached to the moments. And then revisit the very final time of meeting. And I want you to imagine this is the goodbye. Sometimes there are explicit, overt goodbyes. A hug, an embrace. I want you to imagine these were subtle goodbyes. The way that eye contact was held, slight tonality to a word. The goodbyes were there all along. The closure was there, from the very beginning right to the very end. I want you to get a sense of acceptance and closure from this very last meeting, and realize that this is just your representation. So if you want to say goodbye in this moment, or hear goodbye, update your memory to facilitate that, to give you whatever closure you need, to enjoy everything that happened, but giving you a sense of clarity and finality. Nothing more is needed. This is exactly as you would have wanted it to have been. And when your unconscious mind has received and processed the closure you've been looking for all along, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And with that closure, you now get to look back on everything in the past with a sense of gratitude, happiness, fondness. No sorrow, no sadness. Everything was exactly as it was meant to be. If your unconscious mind feels that your life was richer for that moment, then it means, on the balance of probability, this was worthwhile. So take that like any other memory of the past where you knew it was temporary. Holidays can be temporary yet enjoyable. A good book, a good movie could be enjoyable yet you know it's temporary. And as your mind starts to place that in the same category, compartmentalizing it as a wonderful yet temporary moment of your life, you're able to move on with no baggage, no loose ends, no unfinished business, grateful for the past, and yet a sense that a line has been drawn in the sand. But there is no need to open an old wound, revisit the past, feel that the book is closed. You've extracted every bit of value from it that you could have, and there is no need to revisit that past, other than fond memories like any other fond memory that you may have. And before we leave this moment, go forwards in time, because sometimes the true meaning only becomes evident when you look backwards. The dots never quite connect looking forwards. Only when you look back do the dots connect, and allow the dots to connect to create a meaning for you. Maybe the meaning is something as simple as seize the day. Take these moments of opportunity when the window's open, but no regrets when the window closes. Or maybe your unconscious is giving you a deeper or different meaning. Allow yourself to take whatever value you need and leave everything else behind. You can be grateful for the past without living in it. It served its purpose, enabling you to move onwards and upwards, grateful for everything in your past. Feel like it's time to return to the present with a sense of closure, clarity, and finality, realizing it was always temporary, but that's what made it special. Breathing in and breathing out. Returning to the present as you take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Connect fully with the present moment. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, you will awaken feeling alert, focused, a sense of closure and absolute clarity. You get to move forwards without holding on to any baggage of the past. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.